Chapter 3. Our Dad. There are moments in life that simply cannot be explained. No matter how carefully we plan our future, life has a way of leading us down roads we never expected to travel. Looking back now, I can see that my life was shaped as much by unexpected turns as it was by the choices people made before I was old enough to understand them. When I was a little boy, I had no idea that my life would become a story of heartbreak, forgiveness, resilience, and God's quiet guidance. At the time, I was simply living one day at a time. It would take many years before I understood how every painful chapter had been preparing me for the man I would one day become. My story began on February 25th, 1942. Whenever I think about that day, my mind drifts back to Redland, a small farming community tucked away in Elmore County, Alabama. Life there moved at a slower pace. The roads were mostly dirt. Families worked hard from sunrise until sunset. Neighbors looked after one another, and faith was often the one thing people held on to when life became difficult. That little community was home to my parents, Suve Moss Porterfield and Russell Porterfield. My father, Russell, believed important moments deserved to be remembered, so he carefully wrote down the date of my birth, preserving it as one of the milestones of our family's history. Looking back now, that simple act means more to me than I can fully express. It tells me that before the storms arrived, someone believed my life was worth remembering. But while my birth should have been filled with celebration, it arrived beneath a cloud of heartache that would forever change the course of our family. It didn't take long for Russell to realize that I was not his biological son. That discovery sent waves of pain through our home. I was too young to understand any of it, of course. But as I grew older, I began piecing together the story that had shaped my earliest days. My mother suddenly found herself carrying a burden no young woman should ever have to bear. She loved me with everything she had, yet she also had to face the consequences of choices that had left everyone around her wounded. Russell faced a battle of his own. Part of him wanted to accept me. He genuinely tried. But every time he looked into my face, he saw the features of another man. That reminder reopened wounds that had barely begun to heal. Still, through every painful moment, my mother's love for me never wavered. She protected me. She cared for me. She refused to let the circumstances surrounding my birth determine how deeply I would be loved. Promises and betrayal. Long before I entered this world, my mother had been living in an abusive marriage with Russell. The abuse wasn't limited to harsh words. It left emotional scars that ran deep and at times became physical as well. Like so many people searching for hope, she longed for someone who could rescue her from the life she was trapped in. That person appeared to be Samuel Rose. For a while, he seemed like the answer to every prayer she had whispered in silence. He treated her with kindness. He listened, and he promised that he would give her the life she deserved. To my mother, he looked like the knight in shining armor who had finally come to lead her out of the darkness. But life has a way of revealing truths we never expect. When my mother told Samuel she was pregnant, she expected relief, perhaps even excitement. Instead, everything changed. His response shattered every dream she had been holding on to. "I'm already involved with someone else," he admitted. Even so, he still told her he wanted to marry her. Those words only created more confusion. Then she realized that a future with Samuel could mirror the heartbreak and betrayal of her current relationship. As difficult as that decision must have been, she refused to exchange one unhealthy relationship for another. So she chose the harder road. She chose to protect herself. She chose to protect me. And little by little, the image of Samuel as her knight in shining armor disappeared. Her dream may have faded, but her courage did not. When I was finally born, the truth became inescapable. Russell had never known about my mother's relationship with Samuel until the day he first laid eyes on me. The resemblance was undeniable. The Chinese features I inherited from Samuel's grandmother left little room for doubt. I often find myself wondering what must have gone through Russell's mind in that moment. Shock, disbelief, heartbreak, betrayal. Perhaps all of those emotions collided at once. The woman he loved had betrayed him. The child lying before him was living proof of that betrayal. His pain became overwhelming. The disappointment he carried gave way to anger. The anger gave way to sadness. And sadness settled over our family like a heavy storm cloud. Love has a way of becoming incredibly complicated when trust is broken. Every decision made afterward carried enormous weight. Russell stood at a crossroads. He could have walked away from both my mother and me. Many men probably would have. Instead, he chose a different path. Not because the pain disappeared, not because forgiveness came easily, but because somewhere beneath the hurt there remained the smallest spark of hope. He decided to stay and give it a try. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. He also knew there would be setbacks, disappointments, and wounds that would take years to heal. Yet that decision to remain and fight for what was left of his family would become one of the defining moments of my life. Looking back now, I can see that God's work often begins long before we recognize it. Sometimes he starts with broken hearts. Sometimes he begins with impossible circumstances. And sometimes he builds a future from the very pieces everyone else believes are beyond repair.